Yes, hello guys, and welcome to another video today. Today we're going to be talking about a series of FIFA Agent Exam study tips that I'm going to be giving you guys. So I'm going to be starting this series, then regular evenings I can come here and give you some tips on how to pass the FIFA Agent Exam. So it's going to be a couple or not couple. It's going to be series now till we actually go into writing of the exam. So these series are going to be something that you're going to engage with or try to learn few things as the others used to do last year before passing the exam. Again, as I said in my previous video, I'm hosting a course this year. So normally for those who have already joined the waiting list, it's still open before it closes. But anyway, we are going to be starting this series where we regularly share tips and then a little bit of tricks on how to write the exam on, or we give you some definition, answering some questions, how to go through the FIFA agent regulation study materials on how to pass the exam. First, I got a lot of questions from you guys also about, most of you guys are asking how to register, but there's already a link. If you have not yet registered for the FIFA agent exam, there's a link already that I will try to provide that is come from the agent platform that you can try to follow. It's not that hard. You just need to follow the instruction. And when you register, before you start reading to pass the exam, and then before you can become a licensed agent to start selling players. Anyways, today is about talking series one, how the exam is set up, and then we'll go into some few things about the RSTP. RSTP is the regulation and the status of transfer of players. That is one of the materials that most of the exam comes from with the FIFA agent regulation. So series one, we're going to be looking at how the FIFA agent exam is structured. So the FIFA exam, how is it structured? It's structured, I'll go back again, as I always say, it's a 20 multiple choice question with a pass rate of 75%. You have to pass actually 75% to be able to pass. And then, yes, 20, 75, that's 60 minute, which is 1 hour. And you have to have 15 questions out of the 20 question. And it is organized by FIFA, but you are going to be writing at home because this year and last year, last year it started, you now write at home and there's an invigilator that's going to invigilate you. You sit on your laptop and write. So you're going to be given all this explanation when you are by FIFA. They're going to guide you when you register. So no worries, all these things you're going to follow the instruction, how they give you. So you have to be focused on all this process because you cannot make a mistake. If not, you're not going to see the exam for this. So, and then before you can start reading to prepare and write the exam. So also on the platform, there are also a lot of more questions that the FIFA gives that you can also read to prepare yourself for the exam. But anyways, these are just a few things you need to know, and we'll go into. Today, I would like to talk about going into the book, the preparation, that's writing the exam. So there are a lot. The exam is about the book you're going to read that FIFA provides is about 680 pages, and my advice to you is that you have to gain a little bit of idea on most of the things that or where you can find materials in the book. So it's an open book exam, but most of the time you don't have time to write, to use the book. The reason I say so is because it's just 1 hour exam. And when you have 1 hour with 20 questions made of multiple choice, some of the questions are very lengthy that FIFA gives some questions, which means you might even take a minute to read that question, another minute to digest to really understand the question. Then before even thinking of answering, the time has already gone. So you see, most of the time people don't end up not even using the book. That's why it's an open book exam. But if you look at the pass rate, last year was it 42.4% who passed. Sometimes there was another year they said 10,000 people wrote, around 10,000 registered. I cannot remember the exact amount now, but it was just like 19% passed. So the pass rate of the exam is quite low because it's just so difficult if you don't really understand how to strategize and write the exam. So this is the most difficult part of the exam, that most people go into the exam not really knowing what to expect, or probably knowing what to expect, but they don't prepare. Then they end up getting a fair result. And as I always say, the year I was writing the exam, I was quite lucky because you have to, if you fail the first year, you're going to come and write probably the second. Because FIFA used to do it, you register in November, you can write in May or write in November. But this time around, it's just once a year. So the exam is just once a year. So it's quite hard for you not to pass. That's why I say it's better to prepare a lot and pass, because if you fail this time, you're only going to write the next year. So most people do fail the exam not because they didn't read enough. It's because also they don't understand the materials of the exam. There are places, as I always explain here, there are places you need to pay attention a lot to the exam. I give an example. You need to be working on you need to learn a lot about the RSTP. The RSTP is, I can say I have it up it's like from page 150 to 250. So you need to be reading that material a lot, because most of the, like about 30% of the exam will come on RSTP. RSTP is like transfer of players, the status of players. So that around 40, around 30% is going to come. Then around 40% is also going to come from the FIFA Agent Football Regulation. So that this one talks about how this one talks about what example can I give you about this? But anyways, that is from page 200, if I'm not mistaken, 283 to around 321. 321. So this is just, I have the pages off on my head. So when I used to write the exam, let's take for example, if they ask something about RSTP, I knew already that RSTP was the question. Let's say if a question involved transfer, that is under RSTP, which is regulation status of transfer of player. I already knew where to go, so I'll go straight to the content of the RSTP, which from page 150. I will just look through 150, look at where transfer is, and then I go straight. I try to look at the table of content and I try to locate the answer, because it's an open book exam. Same as if they also give something under like minor and all those things is under FIFA agent regulation. You go under from page 283, something like that, to 321. So these are just a little bit of tips and structure that I say you have to learn how to use the book. But again, if you have not read enough, it'll be difficult for you to it'll be difficult for you to pass the exam. So you need to really know how to structure your reading. So let's look into a few of the things. So under the RSTP actually, which starts from page 150. I think most of the people, if you have registered, you have to have the study materials. We'll start from page 150 to 250. You talk about scope, which is like the scope. That's the beginning of the RSTP. We try to look at how you can break down reading the RSTP, understanding it, and trying to know, because as I'm telling you, most of the questions will come there. But of course, there are just a few definitions you always need to look at there so that you can master, so that when if something pops up, you know that okay, excuse me, you have an idea of this. So one reading tips for people listening to this video that I'm going to give you now, this is a key point for you writing the exam. So one, when you're preparing for this exam, the first thing is print all table of content that you know from all the book. So this is what I used to do. Also, print all table of content from the book. Let's take, for example, the table of content of RSTP. You print it. It can start from definition, have everything. That one you can always work with you. So that the thing you're doing there is when you sit sometime on your couch or sofa, if you glance through the table of content, registration, transfer, all those things, just read it. Yeah, you're trying to master it so that on the day of the exam, if something pops up, then you already have an idea, because the table of content is a key, also is a very huge part in this exam, because when they give you something under transfer, you know actually the page where the table of content is and go straight to that page and then try to look at it. So you have to use the table of content to be able to locate your answers, because you're free to use the book, but most people don't use the book during exam days, as I said, because it is just 1 hour and the questions are too lengthy for you to be able to even use the book, because most of the time people write the exam in a panic mode, anxiety, because you do, let's take for example 10 questions, and it's almost your and you want to see you're running out of time. So most of the time now you're just trying to do guesswork to try to fill everything, anything that you can pass. So you end up failing the exam. That's what most people fail the exam, because not that they didn't read properly, but because they didn't structure themselves and also manage their time properly. So let's look at a little bit of definitions here. When we talk of, okay, so if we look at definition of organized football, how FIFA talks about organized football. Of course, these are just things you need to get a basic idea on. So, an organized football is something like that is under FIFA Confederation, National Association. These are rules that apply to these are let me say, if you talk of these are not rules that applies to street football. They apply only to official football. So if we're talking of an organized football, so these are just little things that you have to get a little bit of ideas or your basic knowledge, because sometimes something can come. You don't need to really look into the book if you have an idea, a little bit of broad idea also. So if we talk of, okay, we look another thing with say international transfer, another word like international transfer. So international transfer, I think everybody, you know this if you're writing that, is when the player moves between clubs, but from a different country, to I mean from different association to another association. So let's take for example, I come from Cameroon, and we have the association of my country. I mean, we have an association there. And if I'm moving to, let's take, for example, Finland, where I reside precisely now, those are different associations. So I'll be doing an international transfer. Okay. So that's it. And then a national transfer is just something, let me say, people playing in the Premier League in England. You move from Manchester United to Arsenal. That's a national transfer. So those are things that they can ask. Okay, those will be rare to come, but you need to be having ideas of this, the difference between a national transfer and an international transfer. So there's another thing we call training compensation. If you have been reading already, training compensation. So training compensation, I'll just try to give this locally. Training compensation is a compensation paid to, let's say, clubs training a player between a specific age, and when that player moves, let's say, go transfer what that club was, which is the age from 12 to 21. So if any club who trains a player from the age of 12 to 21, and then that is sold to another club, 64 to call training compensation. So I will make this a little bit of an example, let you understand. So let's take, for example, there's a player for Manchester United called Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes plays for Manchester United. He passed through Sporting and whatsoever. I don't know, but I'm just trying to give an example. All those clubs that trained Bruno Fernandes within the age of 12 to 21, when he was moving to Manchester United, they had to have a compensation, training compensation for that transfer fee. So they were paid compensation for develop because it's your development years. So that's how training compensation work. Of course, the money is shared differently according to the amount of years you stay at a specific club. So this is just a little bit of idea I'm giving you people. Okay, then we talk of also the next definition is electronic domestic transfer system. So of course, it's a platform where, let me say, every domestic transfer must enter and the system and it's valid. So that, I think that is almost clear. So we look at also, these are just little bit of definitions I'm looking at so that at least I can start to give you hints. And then you can have an idea of how it goes. So, and then we talk of loan system. A loan, of course, a loan is when a player is I don't want to say borrowed. It's loan to another club, which is not a transfer. So these few words, you need to be getting an idea. But also, people who have played football or who watch a lot of football will have ideas of all these kind of things. a little bit, they'll have a little bit of more ideas of this, because if they have been watching football, they already know that, okay, someone, a lone player is someone, is a player who is a player who leaves from his club, his parent club, and go on, let me say, loan, for example, to another club, goes to another club without a transfer fee. Of course, there are always loan fee, but you understand what I mean without a transfer fee. Okay, and then there's also a word we call contractual stabilities. Contractual stability is when contract must be respected and there must be stability in the relationship. FIFA does this to protect the clubs and people from terminating contracts easily. And then there's another word we call just cause. You are going to hear this a lot, just cause. Just cause is like, let's give example. If a player wants to terminate his contract, he must have a just cause to terminate his contract. You must have a reason to terminate your contract. Yeah. If not, you're going to face sanction. So you'll be hearing this a lot of time when you read the book. There are a lot of just cause. They can be like sporting for sporting reason, for financial reason. Financial reasons that you often hear this in local leagues, that when someone plays football and is not being paid a lot of money, so within a specific time, and actually FIFA says, if you have not been paid salary 2 months salary, and you give 15 days prior notice to your bosses or whosoever is paying your salary, and the person doesn't respond, you have the right to terminate your contract. That's mean you have just cause to terminate your contract. That's for financial reason. And then the same case will apply for sporting just cause. Let's take, for example, a football player who signs for a football club must have played 10%. So these are just a few tips I'm giving you. People must have played 10% of his games. I mean, must in a season must play more than 10%. If you don't play more than 10% of the games, then you have just cause to terminate your contract. So what most teams, that's why you see most teams, I give an example in Premier League, you don't see this at the highest level, that someone terminates his contract that he has not been playing a lot, because those players, they're going to give them games in Carabao Cup, they're going to give them games in FA Cup, they're going to give them. So all these things are the things that the club does to protect his or her players, that they try to give just cause for you not to terminate your contract. So these are a little bit of ideas you gain. Then the next thing we talk of competition period. I think this one is quite easy. Competition period is like the official season, where the season is being played. Yeah. Okay, we talk of compensation. What is compensation? Compensation, definition of compensation. When a contract is terminated without just cause. So that's the definition of so you compensate someone, for example, if a contract is terminated, or the party breaches, or the other party or employer breaches the rules and regulation. And then there's also a term called sporting sanction. Sporting sanction is almost like you terminate sporting sanction is like you have a ban, and then they ban you based on match related bans. Let's say, yeah, we often get that actually in the Premier League, that he has been banned for 2 games, he has been banned for all those things. So those are also sporting sanctions. So those are a little bit of things. We have a lot to go, but I'm going to leave here. Let you try to digest this one tomorrow. But this was just a little bit of hints of definition to give you how the FIFA Agent Exam regulation. I mean, how the materials are really bulky. So most of the time, I'll be saying, for those reasons, find time just to prepare yourself regularly. It's going to help you. It's going to help you day by day if you keep preparing yourself. So, okay. And then if there's any question, you can always drop a message. I'm going to try to help answer the question, and then we go from there. Okay, that's it for today's live. I didn't expect to stay long. I didn't expect to stay long, but hopefully you got knowledge or an idea about this stuff I was sharing. So Talk to you next time and see you. Bye for now.